taking their chances and getting ahead, Mr Speaker.
The question is the motion be agreed to. Dr Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I think that what we've demonstrated before us in this parliament today is a government that doesn't understand that the foundation of our economy is our environment. We have a government that has launched a war on the New Zealand environment since it was re-elected. The first term of this government was problematic enough, but to some degree they were responsive to public opinion. The second term of this government has launched a war against the New Zealand environment and hence against the New Zealand economy. Because anyone who understands anything about the New Zealand economy understands that it is based on the environment. The Prime Minister has said, well, we're not environmental bandits. Actually, they have become environmental bandits under the influence particularly of Mr Joyce, who doesn't seem to understand that the environment is important and is involved in a war against it. The Oxford English Dictionary describes a bandit as a lawless, desperate marauder, something of a gangster. We now seem to have a cabinet that seems to be full of environmental bandits who are determined to wage war on the environment. Let's look at climate change. This government, in spite of all the evidence showing that climate change is accelerating, the Arctic ice cap is melting more quickly, this is a government that is weakening the emissions trading scheme to such a point that it is completely useless. It's also very supportive of digging up lignite and burning it and burning coal, which of course will accelerate climate change. Let's look at the Ross Sea. This is a government that has opposed attempts to protect the Ross Sea. It couldn't even get alongside the proposal from the United States, which was pretty modest. The proposal from New Zealand was even worse than the proposal from the United States in terms of protecting one of the last great pristine seas. Let's look at the Maui dolphin. There are only 55 Maui dolphin left. New Zealand is very likely to be one of the countries to drive a dolphin to extinction, and yet repeatedly this government has done very little about it, virtually nothing, and was the only country to vote against protection measures at the International Union for the Conservation of Nature conference. How embarrassing that that was New Zealand's legacy at the IUCN conference. We voted against the protection of marine mammals. When it comes to sea lions, this government decided to allow 68 critically endangered sea lions to be killed rather than having a safer squid fishery. So the minister made a decision to kill 68 endangered sea lions rather than protecting them. And then let's look at deep sea mining. We know, because of Deepwater Horizon, which should have been a wake-up call for all of us, that there is no way to plug a hole at 2,000 metres underwater, which is what the government's proposing to do. The only thing that's worked overseas was a relief rig which drilled a relief well. That was how they managed to solve the Deepwater Horizon problem. Now, this government is proposing to have deep water drilling without relief rigs in place. That is grossly irresponsible. And then we've seen on fresh water. This is a government which is subsidising the intensification of agriculture, which will drive the deterioration in fresh water quality. When we look overseas, what we see is that people overseas buy our dairy products because they think New Zealand is clean, green and safe. That is the foundation of our export economy, and this government is determined to destroy that foundation with its attack on the natural environment. This government needs to get its head in order and realise if they are truly committed to the long-term sustainability of the New Zealand economy, they need to become committed to the long-term sustainability of the New Zealand environment instead of waging a war on it. Whether you look at climate change, whether you look at what they're doing on the Ross Sea, whether you look at the Maui's dolphins, whether you look at sea lions, deep sea mining, fresh water, you could add to the list one issue after another. Since the election, this government has been attacking the environment. So my question is, what is going on in Cabinet so that once we thought that maybe there were those in Cabinet who had some sympathy towards the environment, and I guess we all hope Nick Smith would do that, but in the current Cabinet there are no advocates of the New Zealand environment. All we have is decision after decision after decision attacking the New Zealand environment so that future generations will inherit a natural capital which will be degraded and hence undermine the long-term sustainability of our economy. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Anne Tully.